What is going on, you guys? Welcome to the Common Everyday People podcast. I'm Donny, and my other host James Yevon, and we're here with a guest today, Carlos.
How you doing, guys? Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here. This is really my first time being on an actual podcast, right? So, but I'm excited to talk, see what we can do.
Yeah. So, just a little background about yourself. I work with you in the gym. James just met you.
First time.
First time.
Always a pleasure.
Well, okay. And what a major milestone have you hit officially? I think you said the 15th, right?
Okay, so I've been boxing for about maybe 9 years now. I'm a professional boxer on April 17th it was. I turned officially pro, right? I got my pro license. I signed off on being a professional, and it's been a crazy journey leading up to this point. So this is another learning curve, for me. Being able to finally venture into the pro rankings after being in the amateur world for so long.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what made you fall in love with boxing in the first place?
Well, I remember when I was young. I was about maybe like 13, 14, and I would get beat up a lot at school, right? Classic story. I used to get bullied. And then one day I decided, enough's enough. I'm going to stand up now. And I just decided to just start fighting. Little did I know at that point. And no one really messed with me afterwards because of that. I would throw my hands up, I would fight, even if I got beat up again. They realized, okay, Carlos is not just going to take this. So, some years had passed, and I had watched a video. Right, I had gotten interested in learning really how to, hurt somebody. Where are the certain points I could hit? What is the anatomy like in a person's body? Where can I hit them here, there, in order for them to just back up effectively? And I watched the video on Mike Tyson. Right, he inspired me to start boxing, just like outside in the park or something. I bought a pair of boxing gloves, 2 pairs, and I would bring them over to like a neighborhood park where I grew up at, and anyone who would pass by, friends or even people just walking, I'd be like, hey, do you want to throw these gloves on with me, just box? I would throw them at them, right, throw mine on, and we would just go. And that kind of turned me on a lot to, learning how to hit, how to not get hit, how to defend myself in that way. And then eventually, the more I did that, the more confident I got. One of my best friends, he brought me into the boxing club I'm at now. Shout out to Blue Boy Boxing Club, Thompson, Connecticut, and yeah, that's how I started up.
All right, cool. So that's a really cool story. It's interesting. There's a lot of people, as I'm in the gym too, like I see a lot of younger kids getting into it now.
Yeah.
So what do you think is making them want to get into it? In a sense of you think it's the parents? Do you think there's a little more push, a little more something else that makes them kind of yo, it'd be cool to do this?
I think it's more stemming from people they already follow outside of boxing, meaning the Jake Pauls, the Logan Pauls, the KSIs, those people that are more from YouTube, because there's a lot of kids out here that watch YouTube now. They're on the tablet, they're on their phone, right? So they're stuck in that kind of realm. The parents, I'd say it's not much of a push from them. It's more so of just the kids taking that initiative and thinking, oh yeah, I want to try it because I saw this guy do it on a video. That's what I think, to be honest.
I think Nina had a good joke today when we were there. When like someone came in and she's like, "Oh, you already have a black eye," so that made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, but yeah, no, I think I agree. It's definitely more influence. Now, would you agree with that, James?
I would think so, yeah, especially with the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight that happened a few months ago. I feel like a lot of people want to learn, either they want to get that celebrity status or they want to actually learn self-defense, but then they start to realize that there's more than just throwing a very hard punch. It's about what you're thinking about out there as well, too.
Very much so.
Was there a moment when you knew I'm ready to go pro?
Honestly, I'd say from the first time I stepped foot in my boxing club, I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. When I first started, I really didn't have an opinion on the sport. I didn't realize, it took a lot of mental strength, it took a lot of repetition, it took a lot of mistakes to be made to learn how to do things properly. But as soon as I had my first amateur bout, it kind of solidified, like, I may not have been the best here in this moment, but this is something I definitely want to continue doing. And I definitely want to see how it is without the headgear, without the protection, without the, the people trying to take care of you, because now when you're in a professional ring, you're fighting in a professional bout, all that kind of goes away, really. They're a lot more lax, I'd say.
Yeah.
They're still looking out for you to your best interest, for your health, but they're not going to jump on you, right, as they would in like the amateurs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I would think so.
Like, so no, you talked about the mental, what is, one of the biggest things like the hurdles you had to overcome when you started boxing as an amateur, like with obviously like your mental state.
I'd say just the letting go of your ego, your pride, the machismo that I think a lot of people carry with them and they talk about when they think of fighting. You have to deal with a lot of loss, especially starting up in boxing. Okay, myself, we were talking a little bit earlier off camera about it. I myself have lost a lot of times in my amateur career. Right, I've never been KO'd. I've never been really hurt at all. Bloodied up, black eye, none of that really. Broken nose, nothing. But I've been hurt in like my pride, my ego, right? My confidence. I've lost majority of my bouts as an amateur, and that's something that takes a toll on you eventually. Like the first couple times you think, "Nah, I'll get it back. Don't worry about it." But now if you continuously lose back to back to back to back, it's thinking like, man, is this really for me? Do I really want to put myself out there again and lose in front of my friends, my family, my coach, my girlfriend, blah blah blah? It takes a lot on you, I'd say. That part, that mental of thinking, am I gonna do good? Am I gonna lose? Am I gonna be victorious? I should say.
So that's cool. So when you obviously, me and James are both teachers. What is I think the biggest thing you try to teach younger kids as training them?
I'd say just try to stay as calm as possible, regardless of what happens. Like just today, I was training these two cousins, 12-year-old boys, and they had the kind of perception on boxing as in like, oh, this is kind of like this is simple, this is easy, right? And
oh boy.
We had a good conversation at that time. I was saying, I told him, I was like, if you think this is easy, all right, try getting punched in the face here, right? Like really, like in a correct way, in the proper form, and the proper speed, a flicking jab, a hard punch to the stomach. Let's see how easy you think that is, right? And they laughed it off like, haha, but in reality, it could happen. and not even in the boxing ring. It can happen like in on outside of the street, you know. So my point to them would be like, you know, don't really fester on that. You know, if you take a hit, move on. It happened already. You know, if you mess up on a combination, on a punch, on a movement, it happened already. Move on. Don't let that sit with you, because then it just puts you in a position where you can't move on. You know, and then that in boxing, that's gonna get you hurt. You know, you're staying still in a place after getting hit with a couple shots. You're gonna get hit with 10, 5 more. You know, is you have to do something. You have to make a move. You have to move on.
I think, you know, when I started with you, you know, it was kind of a spur of the moment of like, I really, you know, my grandfather loved boxing, you know, and I was like, you know, as kind of like you know, he loved boxing, he boxed himself, he was in the military, he got dishonored discharge because he didn't like to listen to authority, but he boxed in the military, and like he loved boxing, he had a huge boxing book, and I was, you know, doing that, and I found the boxing book, and I was just like, you know, I want to do this because, you know, I know my grandfather loved it, but I'm like, you know, I did martial arts before, wasn't a big fan, I don't like taking my shoes off. That's a big no-no for me.
Yeah.
We know that.
And yeah, and I was like, I'm like, you know, might as well try boxing. You know, my grandfather growing up said boxing was fun for him. You know, he was a scrapper. I think I remember one story where they said that he was like 13. Some people knocked his hat off, and he said, "You're gonna pick my hat up, or I'm gonna fight you." And then he was like, and there's 3 of them. He's like, and if I don't beat your ass this time, I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to come back tomorrow and do the same thing.
Nice.
So, you know, and then I got into the gym, and I didn't realize how, when I got in there, how strategic you have to be. Like, it's not just punch all wildly.
Yes, no, not at all. In boxing, in turn, you know, there's always a strategy needing to take place depending on who you're facing, right? You want to be able to look at the physical disparities between yourself and the opponent. Say you're at the same weight, but your opponent is like 6 foot, lanky arms. You're not gonna go in there fighting them as if that opponent is 5'7" like you or like me. Yeah. You know, you want to be able to try to make things work on the go, honestly, right? And then try to work around the plan that you had set before the bell rang. You know, I faced a lot of opponents in my amateur career, and I faced people at weights of, you know, 168, 170s. That being my highest weight I fought at. And then lighter weights, 152s, 150s, 156, and all of them different physical forms. You know, long, tall, short, stocky, very thin. And, you know, you want to be able to work around what that opponent gives you. What's the saying? Styles make fights.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of give and take.
Yeah, I'm a heavyweight. We all know that for a fact. I'm a heavyweight.
Not bad.
Trying to lose the weight so I can get in the ring, but I don't know if I'm.
I'd probably be considered lightweight.
Yeah, I don't know. Me facing these. You talk to me a little bit out. Me facing these 6'5", 6'7" guys is the best choice.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere though.
You can be honest. I don't get offended.
This is a no bullshit territory, so obviously go at him as much as you can.
Okay. You got it. Yeah,
Oh, thanks. He's gonna insult me hardcore now.
No way. Yeah. We're not gonna box.
It's okay. He insults me on a daily basis.
Oh, I do, but sometimes I'll joke with him, and he doesn't realize I'm joking with him. I'm like, dude, I'm just fucking with you. He's like, what?
Listen,
you know you can't do that. I'm like, yes, you do it.
My brain works differently. Okay. Sometimes I know when someone is joking, but then there's other times I'm like, oh my God, this person is for real now.
Yeah.
How do I do it? But I guess that's what makes it more fun. So,
yeah.
So if you're joking with me, it's okay if you do it. That's all I'm gonna say.
What's the biggest, back to your personal journey, you know, we kind of regress a little bit to add but what was your biggest sacrifice you've had to make it to this point?
I'd say just there's a bunch of sacrifices that I made to lead up to this point. The biggest being maybe just giving up the nightlife. That comes with the going out with the girlfriend, eating regularly junk food, or drinking like a soda or a can of juice. Drinking alcohol, smoking, eating edibles. All that stuff. I don't think it really needs to be said. If you want to be a fighter, you have to be 100% in your body. You have to be taking care of yourself. And, those sacrifices they're very small. To some it could be big. So I know a lot of people, they like going out, they like having their glass of wine, they like, rolling a joint up, smoking or something, right? Being with a couple of girls every night or so, whatever. But if you're looking to be into fighting, becoming a professional boxer, I'd say that is probably the biggest thing you'd have to sacrifice. And I'm doing it as well. I'm doing it right now. It's like, shit.
Is there a specific food that you miss the most?
I'd say, a burger. A good burger, man. I haven't had a good burger in like months. Just because of just the weight gain you're going to expect from that. From the bread to like the beef patty. That or like a good grinder, man. Grinder with some chips behind it, a good juice or something. That's something I miss. Really.
What's your go-to grinder? I have to ask now.
All right, it's gonna be white bread, classic. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's gonna be turkey and ham, mozzarella cheese with onions on it and mayo. Right.
Good call.
A bag of sour cream and onion chips. With a brisk iced tea. That's the go-to meal. That's the go-to.
That
meal.
sounds delightful.
Yeah. What's yours?
I know for me, when I used to live in Jersey, I would always get a chicken cutlet grinder. So sometimes it'd be like a chicken parm or a chicken cutlet with buffalo sauce, maybe some onions, some lettuce, tomatoes, and a nice like aioli with a bag of either barbecue chips or salt and vinegar. And I didn't really have a specific drink, but I would always have like a cherry cola olipop, which is like a soda that has probiotics in it. I know, not to kill the fun part with adding the probiotics part, but that would
probiotics.
Look at this guy over here.
Mr. Healthy here. Mine is definitely steak and cheese.
Nice.
Love steak and cheese. Good Monterey. Good. I love pepper jack on it. I love I like the chipotle mayo, and I get veggies. I love onions. I love pickles on it. That's my go-to. And I have to say my go-to drink is Coke Zero.
Nice.
But aspartame's addicting. That sounds really bad for you.
No, not even. It's just, I'm starting to think of just, oh man, I'm about to go get a grinder after this.
You have a lot more control than that.
Yes.
Didn't
mean to put that in your mind though.
Listen, you said you used to grinders. So obviously, what's your favorite cheese you liked on burgers? Let's go a little deeper.
American classic, man.
Classic?
American.
I'm a pepper jack guy. I love pepper jack on it.
Cheddar. Always been cheddar.
Cheddar's good. Yeah. Cheddar's good. Not bad at all. Not a bad choice. What about Munster? You guys like?
Oh, Munster's good.
Munster's pretty good. Yeah.
That's really good when you make a 3-4 cheese grilled cheese. It's really good on there. But you have to make sure you have the balance. It's. Now let's get off the food topic.
As I digress.
As we digress from the food topic. All right. What does a day in the life look like now that you're a professional boxer? A day in the life of Carlos.
Okay. I wake up around maybe 4:02 a.m. I go for a 4-mile run. I shower. I have a shake. I make strawberries, protein powder, chia seeds, and water. I kill that. I go to sleep maybe for about an hour or two afterwards. I get up. I go if I have clients in the morning to train. I get up. I go train my clients, and then after I'm done, I'm usually freed up in the mornings during the week, Monday through Friday. I train myself again. I do my ab work, 100 reach-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100, what are they called? Jackknives, leg lifts, ab work. Then Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, I do neck exercises to help condition my neck. I do, neck lifts, neck holds on a bench for 40 seconds, neck rolls, right? I place my head on a mat and I just roll it like back and forth, right? To just help condition it. And then depending on the day of the week, I do either biceps, triceps, legs, shoulders, back. But typically every day is that, running, training clients, working out, ab work, neck work on those 3 days, and then hitting the different muscle groups.
Yeah.
But just consistent in training, man. Training, whether it be my clients or myself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just still trying to get used to that bike. Bike's a killer,
The
man.
air bike,
Do you
dude.
train every day?
Every day. Monday, Sunday.
Wow.
Right? Every day. The biggest thing about it is, just the consistency. At first, once you start it, it's kind of tedious. It's, it sucks, no doubt. But, it does get easier. It doesn't make,
You get into a rhythm, basically.
yeah, exactly. So once you start it up, it's kind of hard to stop. Because now you're just dealing with that. Damn, I didn't run today. Oh, I didn't do my ab work today. I didn't work out. And I don't want that on my mind. So I do it. I got no choice really. It's what I want to do. That's where I put my mind at. I want to do this, so why not?
All right. So, I run around with the kids at basketball in 6th grade. That's my cardio for the day.
Nice. Nice.
I go outside for recess every day, so that's also my cardio too.
That's good. That's great.
And then my cardio with him on Saturdays.
At least you're moving around, doing something.
I feel like my cardio's gotten better though to a point, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
I was laughing. Do you think there's a such thing as boxing cardio versus like running or walking cardio?
Of course. You get like my clients, right? We get people in the club that have done sports before boxing, right? And some of them are intense sports. You would think, like rowing. Okay, that's an intense cardio kind of sport. Good shoulder exercise, good back exercise. You get people who are runners, marathon runners, triathlon runners, people who just run, clients that I have that are younger that are just doing track and field. They always say the cardio that comes with boxing is completely different than the cardio they experience in their sport that they come in from. So even myself, like just seeing like a football player run or training with them, doing exercises they do, drills they do from friends I've had that showed me drills. It's kind of, not to take away from anything, but it's definitely not the same as running miles, right, every day for boxing. Cardio, doing mitt work, speed bag, jumping rope for 5 minutes, 3 rounds, shadow boxing for 5 minutes, 3 rounds. It's not the same at all. So, I'd say yes.
I feel better about myself then because
it's good.
When I was in Illinois, we walked a whole bunch of state parks, and I'm like, yo, I'm dying here. Ryan was great. I'm like, I'm dying here. Like, I'm exhausted, and of course they're like, don't you bother? Like, it is way different, man.
Yeah, completely.
It's alright. I can't run very long. If I run like down the block, I'm gonna be incredibly winded. And you're gonna be, and everyone's gonna know it's me because I can't run.
It's okay. It's no big deal.
I know.
So, what was the hardest mental hurdle you had to overcome?
When it comes to boxing?
Yeah, boxing.
Being okay to get embarrassed. That's probably the biggest mental hurdle for anybody, really. I'd say now in time, I think I'm pretty okay with it, because of, losses I've had, moments I've had that made me embarrassed, made me feel embarrassed, I should say. I'd say that probably for anybody, just being okay with being embarrassed, whether you win or not. It's depending on, how did I look in there? If I lost, damn, how did I look in there? Same thing.
Yeah.
Embarrassment for anybody, I'd say, is a hit to your confidence.
Yeah.
Especially if you experience it.
Yeah. Do you have any pre-fight rituals or weird superstitions you have when it comes to going in a fight? Because as a lot of sports players, especially baseball players, have weird superstitions. Same. I've noticed that with almost every sport. Every sport has their own weird superstitions.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like. I guess. Doing like something like a prayer or something when it comes to before I step into the ring. He's saying, "All right, here, protect me." Or I like tapping the corner of the ring when I step out inside of the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
Before the bell. I like just tapping it, and then as soon as the bell rings, I tap it one last time. All right, go time. Right. That's about it. Really. That's nothing really big for me. I just focus on the then and there, not like the ritual side of things.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have like the pre-game ritual now, and I've noticed with boxing, there's not too many people I've seen like they actually have an actual set ritual.
Yeah.
Like if I don't think I'd even have a ritual. I'm just kind of, you know what I mean. It's more of make sure I don't die.
Yeah, right.
Amen.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect ritual for boxing. Is please keep me alive. I don't want to die on the ring.
What's the biggest misconception? All right.
Do you want me to ask the question?
I got it.
Okay.
What's the biggest misconception people have about pro boxing? I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but what do you think, besides what we talked, what do you think there's any other misconceptions people have, or?
I'd say, still, just to bring it back up, the brutality of it, the way people look at it as such a brutal sport, there's no thinking behind it. I'd say that's completely wrong, okay? Boxing in itself is a beautiful sport. It is an art form, okay? Depending on how you want your style to be. How do I want to fight like? And that creates like a very wide, a broad sense of style. Like, you can look like anything when it comes to boxing. Like, there's a bunch of different guards, for instance, right? There's primarily just keeping your hands up here. There's a cross guard. There's a Philly shell. There's a high guard. There's different ways of how to position your feet. You could be an orthodox fighter, but you could switch to southpaw. You could alternate your feet going from left to right in certain ways, different patterns, fighting off the front foot, fighting off the back foot. There's a bunch of little minute, small details that go into boxing that people don't really understand or look at. They just look at, oh, dude, he got hit pretty hard. You seen the blood come off his face? And yeah, that's part of it. That is the main part of it, is hit and don't get hit. But the little minute things, the little details that the boxing offers constantly gets overlooked. So I'd say it's not so brutal. It's beautiful, I'd say.
So, back on has there been any guards you've seen that you're just like you look at it and you're like, that's not working in the least?
Yeah, people, they go back to, how they fight maybe in the street. Like, they post up here like this or something with the elbow up or something. That's some hood shit, It's like, all right, cool, do you, man. If you can make it work, then, more power to you. But more times than not, that's gonna get shut down quick.
Yeah.
So a guard like this, I'm not even looking at the fight.
I think I saw one where it was like a person literally was fighting like he was on the streets and wasn't like boxing properly. He was like throwing him like this.
Yeah, man.
And I'm like, what? Like, I mean, he ended up winning, but it was like, dude.
It can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. There's been even fights like that I've seen, that I've been in, that people, they get a little bit more like, I'm just gonna throw, right? No matter what it looks like, I'm throwing. I'm staying consistent in my patterns of how I'm throwing, and the speed, the output of how many punches I'm throwing, and they tend to take home the victory. The classic style of going back and forth like this, waiting for an exchange. waiting to throw out a counter punch, it kind of goes out the window. It kind of just goes into that animalistic sort of thing.
Have you ever seen someone go back to like the 30s and 40s style where they go out
Like they're like this? No, never. That would be a sight to see, though. To be honest, I'd give my respect to that person and fight like that, because
I may start training like that. I don't know. I make it.
No, man. I mean,
he's gonna start it. That's what's gonna happen.
You can start bringing it back, man. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Actually, I think he'd hit me. Be like, dude, I've taught you a million other things. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I deserve it at that point.
I feel
though.
like I'm doing my style. This is what works for me.
Yeah, honestly.
But no, I like the peekaboo especially, which I'm still trying to get used to. But I'm also like, it's so weird trying to find my style. Like, you taught me like the I forgot which one it was, like the right here. But like I like the peekaboo better. I just don't know necessarily if that's the best one for me, because in all honesty, I don't think it's the best one for me, because how I am.
There's certain guards, depending on, like I said, styles make fights, right? There are different styles you could incorporate in the moment. Like, say you're coming out of your corner and you're just maintaining this, the composed classic style. He's keeping the hands up here. But now, say you get somebody who's a little bit longer in reach. They're throwing out their jab consistently at you. That's when, maybe a peekaboo style could come into play, where, okay, I can't keep my hands out here in front. I want to keep them a little bit closer in, so now I could easily block, or I could move my head with these hands up here. I could cut through the air.
I'm still mastering moving my head and keep putting my hand out, putting my hands down here. You'll be like, dude, I've told. He's like, I love him. He'll be like, he's like, Donny, what are you doing?
Yeah, do it again.
Do it again. I love it. He's like, dude, put your hands up here. He's very patient with me. I love it so much.
Someone has to be.
So it has to be. He has to be patient. He's very patient with me, which is great. Sometimes I do it like 7 times. He's like, I can see it like in him, like, dude, I've told you 4 times already. What are you not
getting?
Good.
We'll do it another 4 times if we have to. It's fine. No big deal.
It's great. That's what I need. I just need to be like, dude, really? My fear was a day I was hitting below the thing. He's like, dude, you're hurting my wrist, and I'm like, sorry. And he's like, no, it's fine. Just get towards the middle. I was like, I understand. I told him, like, dude, just tell me straight out if I'm doing it. He's like, dude, you keep hitting me in the hand. Stop it.
Nice.
I think I just said to him, when did you hit me in the face if I ever do that?
Well, he is an instructor, so he technically has to be patient.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has to be, but sometimes I question. I'm like, why is he so patient with me? Because I'm still trying to, like, all right. But, so when you step in the ring, what is running through your mind?
A lot of things. I'd say, like, okay, you got this. Listen. Make sure you listen. Like, don't worry about anything else. Verbatim. Just like that. Just, okay, you got this. Listen to your corner. Listen to coach. Listen to your corner. Repetitively. Sometimes, in the fray, say you get hit with a shot, I'd listen. I'd tell myself, oh, that wasn't shit. Oh, you're fine. Or move your head, Carlos. Like, he can't hit you with that. Or like, all right, he's doing this with his jab. All right, try to counter it. It's thoughts per second. It's racing. And you have to try to control your thoughts. Like, again, there's a bunch of noise coming at you when you're inside the ring. Whether it be from the fans, the crowd, the other fighter's corner, your corner yelling at you. There's a bunch of things. You want to try to isolate those thoughts at that point. Like, take in what is going to work for you in that moment. Like, okay, if somebody's yelling, all right, punch him in the face. Yeah, I'm not going to take that. Right? I know.
I saw that already.
Like, I know, okay? Like, sure. I want to take in more instructive direction. Like, double jab cross. If I hear that from my corner, all right, sure. Of course, obviously, I'm going to take that. Yeah. Anything else, though, is pure just my thought. Like, okay, double jab cross. All right, then what? All right, yo, you hit him with it. All right, roll after that. Come in with another shot. Or double jab again. It worked. Things like that.
I think the funniest thing is the last time I saw you fight, all I heard from, like, we were all cheering, all I heard is, Ovi, Carlos, look,
yeah.
Ovi!
Yeah, overhand, right? That's
I'm like,
what Ovi is.
I know what it is. I started laughing. Everyone's Carlos, hit him with the Ovi. I'm like, okay. I started screaming in my head. I was like, pretty sure in the ring he knows the Ovi's not gonna work.
Yeah. At this moment, anyway,
Yeah.
it's just people they get excited.
Yeah.
It's a combat sport. You see somebody in there trying to withstand a punch or try to get the better of an opponent. It's like, okay, you kind of fall into that. It's like, all right, I'm just yelling this. It's the excitement behind it.
I definitely got into it that night. I was into it like hardcore, and it was like, and even like watching a couple of the other ones I've seen, like I get so into it. I'm like, I think when my first one I went to, I was like, okay, I like this. I want to be in there. Like, this is cool. And then I get to the second one, I'm like, yo, I'm cheering. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
I still want to go to one, by the way.
I know we were supposed to go to that one you went in Mass. We never did, unfortunately.
It's okay. It's no big deal, man. There'll be other fights coming.
He's gonna hold it on my head until we appear to fight James.
Okay, sounds.
He's gonna text me, hey, you're supposed to be there.
Yeah, this time, this date, now.
Yeah.
Was there a fan chirp that you remember just being like ridiculously funny or something like that? I know you're so focused, but was there a fan that said something like at you just like, oh my god, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard?
I mean, not necessarily funny, really. It was more just like, duh. Like, more of like, oh, you think? This one person, I don't know who it was, but they were like saying, oh, he's tired, right? And it was my first fight, my first fight. And I thought to myself, like, fuck you. Like, like, yeah, sure, I am, right, but I'm not tired, I got back to that. Like,
Meet me in the parking lot after.
Yeah,
so I'm tired, I am.
That it had me kind of riled up a little bit because of that. Like, no, I'm not tired. Like, what do you mean? But in reality, afterwards, like, yeah, I was. Like,
You're like, oh gosh,
you got me. You read me.
You were right. You right.
Yeah, you got it.
Who's the one fighter, past or present, you would love to step in the ring with?
Automatically, Chris Eubank Sr. Chris Eubank Sr. Man, he's if you look him up, I'd say, in my opinion, underrated. Not very under the microscope of boxing in the boxing world, but just like his style, his presence, how he goes into like even like a press conference, past fighter when he fought like Nigel Benn. I bring these guys up, Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, because they're boys, they're kids. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn just recently had fought, and it was like a blast from the past because of that legacy fight. It was a legacy fight where Ben and Bank they meet again, just in more recent times from the past fight that the fathers had. It was a great clash, but being in the ring with Senior, I think it would be, just a great experience just to learn, to see, how this person moves, how the punch this person has, like what kind of power does this person have behind them, that I think I would enjoy that very much.
Jake Paul versus Carlos coming your way.
Yeah, forget Jake Paul. He's just a
punk.
Not even just a body. He's just a body. Someone to fill in a space for now. That's my opinion on him. Much respect to him for doing the work, for sure. Getting in the ring, that's no easy task at all. But he's nothing to bat an eye over, in my opinion.
Or just a big mouth, basically.
That brings shows.
Yeah.
That sells tickets. If you're promoting yourself in that way, where you're talking that shit and you're backing it up to some degree, hats off to you. He has been doing that, so good work.
I had to make that joke because we were talking about him earlier today.
Yeah.
Are there any styles you find tougher to fight against?
Yeah, a southpaw is always going to be difficult. Someone with a different stance. Because now you're dealing with different positioning of a person's hands. You're dealing with somebody who moves a little bit differently when it comes to head movement. punch selection is a little bit different. Yeah, sure, you're gonna always know what a jab looks like, a cross looks like, a hook, a left hook, right hook. But then when you get into those specifics, like a right jab, left cross, a left hook coming from a different side, it's kind of challenging at that point. But again, it's a learning thing. It's a learning experience, and I'm more than willing to exchange. I'm more than willing to learn to be in front of a southpaw, deal with them. It's a different way of thinking, for sure, when you're dealing with the left-sided kind of fighter.
I would be interested if when I get in there at some point, hopefully in the next year. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's originally hopefully it was going to be this June or July, but camp kind of f that up, and then when I come back, hopefully I'll be. I'm allowed to keep training there. They told me, but I'm like,
Nice.
we'll see if I can when I'm working with kids, if I can keep that training going, the training regimen. But I definitely have like 2-3 months worth of work we'd have to rework on.
No biggie.
You'd be like, you had fun at camp, cool. Now let's get back to work.
Yeah,
It's okay. We're just gonna put a punching bag outside his cabin, and he's gonna be there at 5 o'clock in the morning, just punching at it.
Yeah, dude, of course.
Going to a Jewish camp, they may have an issue with that.
Oof. You'd be surprised, man.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of like Hasidic Jews come in, right?
Really?
Yeah, and they have their own times where they're like, yeah, we want to be in the club by ourselves. Nobody else around. But even if there are people around, there's no problem behind it with them. It's just like, all right, just like anybody else, just working, doing their grind. That's all.
I was more impressed that they hired me with all my tattoos. That was a shocker to me and myself.
I am also shocked by that too.
Just,
But no, I was like, cool. They're like, yeah, we're becoming more readily accepting of them because everyone gets them.
yeah.
I just can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. That was my plan, darn.
All right, damn it.
What a shame.
What a damn shame.
Yeah.
What's the dream fight you're chasing?
Honestly, oh man, I'm gonna sound like a total hater, right? Because I don't want to give out this guy's name, right? But there's this one person that is from the same city as me, Waterbury, and I think it'll be a good fight. There's also another individual that I fought in the amateurs. His name is Gumet, Will Gumet, right? I'd like to set up a match. He's in a higher weight class. Even in the amateurs, he's a heavier set opponent, a bigger opponent, a bigger individual, and I'd like to run that back for sure in the pro rankings just to see, all right, let's see what we have here now, those two fights. One person that I'm not going to say their name. Right, I'll say it eventually. When it actually comes to light, when there's actually an opportunity set in front of me, I'll promote it then. And then this other individual, Gumet, him. I like to have a fight with that person.
So now you just talked about weight classes, reading into the next question. Are you looking to stay at your current weight class or eventually move up or down?
I'd like to go up. Naturally, I see myself as a 154 fighter, 147 fighter. That's probably the lowest I see myself going. Maybe 140, if I could get down to that weight, and try to maintain it. It's all about how you maintain and how well you're able to keep that weight going, keep it up, really. It all depends on the way you're at prior to dropping down to the either 140 or the 147. If you're walking around 150, naturally, comfortably, you're still eating your regular food, still doing your training regularly, easily, that's very attainable. Going up in weight though, I'd like to see myself kind of end at maybe 165 middleweight. Middleweight. That 167. That's not a bad weight class because there are still opponents, individuals that aren't as tall, aren't as lanky at that weight, but they're definitely going to be heavier.
Yeah. So this is about future. So you win a title, right? Which I'm really hoping you do. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'd be able to say, I knew him. He trained me.
Yeah.
I know this guy.
Sorry, I'm just gonna use that when you win a title. I'm like, he trained me. I'm good.
No problem at all.
How do you balance chasing a title with staying healthy and long-term focus?
I mean, that's the end goal at the end of the day, winning the title. Being able to cement yourself in history at that point, winning a title at whatever weight class I'm at. I'd like to win it at 147, just to see, and maintain that. And then from then onward, try to defend that title at that weight, and then go on to different weight classes to be a multi-division world or champion, undisputed, right? That's a great goal, and attainable depending on what comes my way. But with that, the long-term focus behind it, the dream is just that. That's always going to be there, to be honest. So that I have no problem with, or no kind of real opinion on.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen regardless, especially if I maintain and keep on pursuing the dream, which is just being a professional fighter. And I'm almost already there. My foot is in the door already. Now when I hit that debut, and fights afterwards and onwards after that debut, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. My question is, this is just kind of off topic to a point too, though. But actually not really, because we just talked about undisputed title. Has there been a fighter in the history that have gone through all the weight classes and won every title in that weight class, or no?
No, because it goes down all the way to bantamweight or strawweight, and no fighter that I know of really in history has been at a straw weight to go up to heavyweight. No, I doubt. And maybe I'm misinformed. Maybe there has been, but from my knowledge now, no, not that I know of.
Yeah. So what's the most? So has there ever been a guy who's won more than 3?
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, man. He's going all the way up to welterweight, and I think maybe even middleweight.
Yeah. I was interested because I was like. It was it's like I always call it, it's boxing, but I call it the Brock Lesnar experience, you know what I mean? Man's a heavyweight. Could you think he could have dropped down and won a title in a lower division in MMA if he was an MMA guy?
I mean, maybe. It just depends on, how his training regime would have taken place, trying to get down to a lower weight, or even maintaining at a higher weight. Let's see, what he has behind that. I know that, in different disciplines like MMA or boxing, it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different in how and you cut down your weight. And I know for MMA, it's a lot more difficult for fighters because there's a lot more weight classes in that discipline. So, but with boxing, I know it's just you're stuck at this weight. This is what weight class you're at. Yeah. If you can maintain it, great. If you can't, then you better find a different weight class you can. Yeah. That's all.
I just call it the Brock Lesnar experience because I'm that's the what if question. Do you think if Brock Lesnar was a boxer, do you think he would be a good boxer, or do you think he would if he learned the discipline?
I'd say so. Yeah, that goes with anybody, really. If you're willing and able to put in the time and effort into learning the discipline, then why not, Yeah.
So, if we're going to go to some fun questions at this point. And, if your box style was a song, what song would it be?
I'd say, play that funky music. I don't know. I don't know the group behind that song, but I was listening to it on my way here. I'd say that song really, it gets me in a mode where it's all right, cool. This is like a '70s fucking porn flick or something. I'd say that's my style.
I respect it.
Yeah, that's the.
They respect it.
It's respectable.
That's the persona, I guess. This kind of style, the kind of energy I like to bring towards my fighting, my fights, my fighting style.
Play that funky music, white boy.
Yeah.
I feel like we want to play that song after this show.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
It is a great song.
Well, blast, it's great.
Nice.
Who would play you in a movie of your life? Who do you think would be a good person to play you? It's like the story of my life will take me on.
I don't know, man. Really. If anyone, Timothy Chalamet, I think. That's the
Really?
first person.
You don't want
I think.
Dwayne Johnson?
No.
You don't want The Rock?
Nah, too big of a guy. I don't think I could. I look like him, really.
What about John Cena?
John Cena? No, man, not really. No, not really.
I agree. Timothy Chalamet would match you really
Timothy
well.
Chalamet, I think he could pull it off.
And then he played Bob Dylan. He did pretty well with that. I think
Yeah.
he'd be able to play anybody if he put his mind into it.
Yeah. I mean, acting is a different animal.
No.
I'd say.
What genre would it be? Comedy, drama? What would it be?
I think it may be drama.
Drama?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'd say any boxing movie really has to have some drama in it. It's boxing. It's a hard sport. And putting everything in front of an audience of like, oh, he lost this many fights. What? That's dramatic in itself.
Yeah.
And he still turned out to be pro, and it still worked out well for him. What? That's a happy ending.
I think one of the most interesting boxing movies I've seen recently was Cinderella Man.
That's
Yeah.
a great
That's a great movie.
Dude was. It's pretty shocking to think that this man was obviously boxing during the Depression era. I forgot his name.
Jim Braddock.
Jim Braddock, yeah. Because I watched it, I forgot his name. And you just see how many fights he lost, and then when he came back, how many fights he won.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of my favorite movies is definitely Big George Foreman. Rest in peace, George Foreman.
Shout out to George Foreman.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, man. Yeah. Big George, dude. He was I'd say just a genuine individual. He just took everything for what it was at face value and continued on his path and his way.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra shit.
I did My Way.
My Way, my favorite song too.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah, Old Blue Eyes, man.
It's a great
Frank
one.
Sinatra, best song ever.
My fiance will crucify me because I listen to so much Frank Sinatra. Because I play theme from New York a lot. Because
Nice.
I used to live in a New York, New Jersey area. He's like, James, this is too much. Stop playing this.
Don't hate, What I mean?
I'm like, don't be a hater.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right.
Yeah, no, I had something in my head, but I forgot. But don't worry about it. What's the first stupid purchase you're making with a big fight check?
Well, honestly, I don't think any purchase I'd make with the big fight check I'd make would be stupid. Really, I don't know. Maybe I'd put it away, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think I even make a purchase. Really, I'd put it away and save it for a rainy day. To be honest, maybe invest it in something.
My favorite thing is those people who just get into the league, like in any sport league, and they spend millions of dollars on like these insane Lambos, and not even a month later they're cut from the team and they can't afford it.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
over with
exactly.
at that point.
It's like, dude, you had, and they don't have like I said, like we talked a little bit, they don't have, it's like Zion Williamson
Yeah.
Oh, man.
in basketball. Dude literally got this huge check, came back after spending lots of money, and he gained like 100, 200 pounds. Because he wasn't taking care of himself. He's like, oh, I'm big.
The guy now.
I'm the guy now. Like, I'm the next LeBron. Little did he know that he is not the next LeBron. I don't think anyone's going to beat that man's. That man almost is going to. That man, 5 times he's going to win, but right now, 5 times getting his ass knocked out by LeBron James.
He's still doing his thing, man. Great individual in the sport of basketball. That goes with anything. Like, you can look at people in boxing, really.
Yeah.
It's like you think that they're going to have a great time in the pro division, and then, they kind of just live it short.
Live the fast life.
Yeah, living in a fast lane, and it kind of bites them in the ass at the end of the day. And that happens to anybody.
That's also a great song, too, Life in the Fast Lane.
Yeah, Life in a Fast
Life in
Lane.
the fast lane.
Or Fast Lane, Bad Meets Evil.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Bad Meets Evil.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the Eagles song.
No. Have you ever heard the song by, I think Waylon wrote it, The Boxer? Waylon Jennings?
The name of the song is familiar.
Yeah.
I've never heard
I think Simon Garfunkel actually did, and Waylon did a
Oh, wait,
cover of it.
I think Simon Garfunkel did.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, we gotta hear it then. I think you'll like it.
Okay.
It starts with, I was just a small boy and my story seldom told. And okay, rank these. I'm gonna have you rank these. Ready? Speed, power, defense, or ring IQ. What is the most important to you?
Defense by far top 10, right? Number 10, right? Number 10 as of ranking wise. Speed, timing beats speed, so that's kind of like maybe at the bottom tier, maybe at a 1. Defense 10, speed 1. Power, that kind of gradually decreases as you age. Old man strength, they say. That I'd say at a number 5. Ring IQ, that I'd say right behind defense at a 9. Right? Yeah. So defense 10, speed number 1, power 5, ring IQ number 9.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're getting into the weeds now, as I like to call it. We're gonna get into the deeper questions about your journey and your life up to boxing. The first thing before we get into that deep into that stuff, so if you're willing to share it, what's something boxing taught you about yourself that you didn't know before?
I say that plainly put, I'm great. I'd say I'm great. However you want to take that, that's kind of like a broad statement, but I'm great, I'd say. As in, I'm a great individual.
Yeah.
I'm a great instructor. I'm a great coach. I'm a great fighter. And, I'd say that I didn't really realize that up until I started boxing. People, it's enough to like try to kind of actually bring a tear to my eye, really, when I think about it. People, they love me. And I didn't realize that up until I started boxing.
As James said today before, he's like, I'm excited to meet Carlos. I speak very highly of you with people I know. They speak very highly of you. And that's very much like, it's and that's the thing, James, like, I'm excited to meet him because, you speak very highly of Carlos. I do. Taught me some things I didn't even know, which is...
No, there's a lot more to boxing that I was completely unaware of.
To me, it's a connection. It's like, obviously you're my trainer, but there is some form of connection.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a connection that you really... That's something that boxing or combat sports brings to people. It's like martial arts with their sensei. There's a connection there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to say, but it's like you guys are pretty much in the bunker together while bombs are going off around you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, dude. And that is even when I first started training with my coach, Coach Blue, he's taught me a lot about just the sport itself and things outside of the sport, just things regarding life. Things about life that I don't think I would have really learned without him.
Yeah. And I say, life is a cruel mistress. If you don't have those people to guide you, mentor you, you're pretty much left in the ocean. You're like on the sinking part. It's like you're in the Titanic and you're sinking and there's lifeboats, but you're like, I'm good. I'm gonna stand right here. I feel like the boat's gonna pick itself up.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, you're kind of going into things blind, really, without somebody to guide you who has that prior experience to share if they want to.
Yeah. How do you stay grounded when you're living a dream so many people do chase?
I mean, I think I'd like to say I take it day by day.
Yeah.
I take
Living
it for
in the
what it
moment.
is. Yeah, living in the moment for each and every day that I'm able to wake up.
Yeah.
That's how I stay grounded the best of my ability.
Yeah.
I'm living a dream right now.
Yeah.
I would have never thought.
Yeah.
I would have never thought when I was fucking like 14 in middle school, to start of freshman year, just graduated middle school, that I would have been an amateur boxer, a coach, and then leading into a professional boxer doing a podcast about the journey of it.
Yeah.
That's insane. I'm living a dream right now, my man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
What legacy do you want to leave when people talk about your career one day? Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's
right.
a great. That's a great.
That's an
question.
amazing one. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
I'd say, I'd want, my children, or, just people I've grown to know throughout the years of life. It's like Carlos did his life his way. Again, bringing back that song, Frank Sinatra, My Way. I'd like people to think of me, when I think of my life, think of my boxing career, he did things his way at the end of the day. That's it. And that I could live happy with. You know, I decided to stick to something. I said I was going to do something, and I did it. Boom.
I think that's the respectable factor too, is that like you didn't want to like emulate other boxers, like you wanted to do it your way, and everyone will look at that and be like, you know what, if I do things my way, maybe things will go the way that I want it to be.
Yeah, exactly, and that's you know, it's beautiful at the end of the day. Like I just said, you know, I decided to do something, whether it be boxing, whether it be I want to be the best mailman in the world.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing things, you're sticking to what you said you were gonna do, and then seeing it through, regardless of what may happen.
And I think that's my camp journey in general, though, is like every camp I've been to, I want to be remembered as a legend. A camp, we call them camp legends. I want to be a camp legend.
Cool.
And I've yet to have a camp where I'm not a camp legend. Like I went to Harlingen Rec last year for the first time ever since I left there in 2017, and one of my former campers was a supervisor there, and he said, and everyone's like, "Oh, is this the famous Donny we hear so much about?" Yeah, this isn't. And they're like, "Oh, you don't look like much." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I was younger. I was younger and more vibrant."
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing that I'm getting older.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Thank you. It's kids. It makes me laugh.
Or just thank you for the brutal honesty of who I am now.
All right.
I'm a shell of a man.
That's respectable in its own right. You know, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now
get out of my face here. Yeah.
I think I remember Trevor was like, "You don't understand. Like the group we had as counselors were some of the best group Harlingen Rec ever had, and even Trevor's been there for years. Said who's been there for years was the supervisor counselor. Said nothing still beats our generation of counselors. Nothing beats us. We had the energy. We actually wanted to be there.
Nice.
You know, and now I've noticed a lot of people I work with now who are younger. They're just there for a paycheck or travel to the United States. After they don't care. They go out, get drunk, go back to the cabin stumbling. When you have 10, 11-year-olds in the cabin, and
well, generations are different now. I mean, like in this generation, like there's a lot of kids they don't really care about what they do anymore.
That is true. And you know, I'm just happy that you know that there's still that form of our generation that still is trying to chase the dream as we were speaking of.
Yeah, and I'd say it kind of ties into, you know, previous generations. We're all learning, you know, day by day, taking it easy or trying to just stay on the grind, hustle. Yeah. It's a learning thing, day by day, you know, and whatever we learned from previous generations, we try to establish that into our daily lives now, and then try to give out the best we can for the future generations that are to follow. It's like, all right, what can I teach young Simon over here what to do and what not to do? You know.
Hey, how do you not have your own house yet?
Yeah, right.
I was 18 and had my own house.
Oh, that's
I moved out of my parents' house. I'm sorry. Do you see the housing market?
Yeah, honestly.
Have you seen the job market?
Have you seen the job market?
They don't pay very well.
I'm getting paid nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? How can I establish this? What you want from me, I will get. But as of right now, I'm just living my life, man.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
I remember when I was 18, I came straight out of high school and I had a job. Oh, you did? Did half the jobs require experience? No, they just hired me. Oh, I'm sorry. I was making this much a month. Oh, good for you.
Good for you.
You're making more than I do in 2 months, okay? Good for you. You're making less than me because you can afford the housing market. I am so sorry.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, right.
That to me.
Yeah.
Be a little. Oh, you want a cookie for that? All right, good.
I said you want a gold star.
Or the demerit, whatever one you prefer. Honestly.
Yeah, whatever one.
It's your choice.
Your choice. I'm not gonna bash your choice, but I like the demerit though, because you're being an ass.
Yeah. So obviously we've talked a lot about your journey. What advice would you leave to people who are really trying to go pro, like young kids, like? We'll say kids from like we used to have some kids in the gym that are like 5, 7 years old. What 5 to like 12, the young kids, like what advice would you leave them, or And then I have one more follow-up question after that.
Okay. A piece of advice I'd like to share is don't give up so easily. When things don't go your way. Okay, when things don't go your way, it's not that maybe it's not meant for you. It's just maybe it's not your day. It's not your night. Keep trying at it. Keep pursuing what you said you were going to do, and at the end of the day, it's your life. If you decide maybe one moment where you really are speaking to yourself and really being honest and open with yourself about boxing, or again, being like the best mailman in the country, in the world, if maybe that is one day maybe what you don't want to do anymore, okay then. But at least you tried.
Yeah.
Keep trying until that moment hits. That's I'd say, like, the best piece of advice that I could give somebody,
And then this is my follow-up question. If you had to write a note to your younger self, we'll say your younger self, what would you tell them?
Wow. I'd tell younger Carlos, I'd say, keep trying, okay? Again, keep pushing, don't quit. That's all. That's all I'd say. There's a lot more to life than what you have right now in front of you. Okay? The world ain't just Waterbury, right? The world is a lot more than what you know right now. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty strong note. I think I'd leave.
And imagine meeting them face to face.
Imagine that, right? I'd say, like, younger me would not even recognize me right now. I'd be like, yo, that's you got a face tattoo? You're like, damn, I wasn't expecting that one. Like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, other tattoos too. Damn.
Yeah.
What happened to me?
Huh? Like, that would be a great moment to have with, like, younger Carlos, or just to see, like, wow, that kind of caught me off guard there. Just like to see, how much we've changed.
Yeah. And I think younger me, it would be they'd look at me and be like, "You want to play games? But what? No, do you want to play a video game? No. What? Who are you?
Yeah.
I'm you from
The future.
The future? Oh, cool. What the hell happened to you?"
All right, nice.
He's like, "You got tattoos. You said you're never gonna get tattoos." I also said I wasn't gonna have a drinking problem, but that didn't happen for a while.
Yeah, I have a question. Was there, like, a particular moment during your amateur career that you just thought about giving up, but then you realize what was it that motivated you to push yourself even further?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of moments, at the start of my amateur career, and even at, like, recent times now, like maybe I'd say a year or two ago, where I was thinking to myself, man, is this it? Like, really? Like, am I really going to continue boxing? Am I really going to continue on this path where I really don't know if it's going to be, as beneficial to me, to my life, to, like, people around me? Whether it be my family, where they want the best for me, or like a girlfriend that I have to support. Maybe I want to start up a family. Is boxing really gonna be the support system I need, and that I'm really in need of at this moment? Sure. I've had those talks with myself of changing up some certain things about what I need to be bringing in and what I need to be bringing out when it comes to, my life, whether it be financial or just being happy at the end of the day. Am I happy with boxing right now? Am I happy with the career choice that I've chosen? I've had a lot of jobs in my life, dude. Whether it be like I was a counselor, a youth counselor. I was a pizza delivery driver. I was a FedEx driver. I was a residential instructor for people that couldn't really move around on their own, whether they had mental disabilities or physical disabilities. I was a busboy. I was a server at restaurants. I was trying to pick up bartending at one point. I did a lot of things. And at the end of the day, I always came back to boxing. So that kind of put it in its place where this is what I was born to do. I was born to teach. I was born to fight. You know, so I'm happy with where I'm at right now, and I have no regrets with what I have in my life. You know, where I am in my life right now.
So that means you're doing it right if you have no regrets.
I'd say so. So. As of right now in this moment in my life, I have no regrets. I have no regrets.
And you know, I think that is the thing that really kind of is hard to push the younger generation. Like, you may be going through some crap in your life, right? Don't let that define who you are.
Exactly.
Don't let that past trauma. I don't necessarily know that side of you, but don't let whatever past trauma you've had change who the fuck you are.
Right. Yeah. Strong. There you go. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
I feel fired up right now.
Yeah, I'm ready to go run 5 miles right now. You know.
In the pouring rain right now.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It has to get done. You know?
He has that Mamba mentality, man.
Yeah, it has to get done. You know. If not now, when? If not me, who? You know, and I can credit those sort of sayings to just the people I've seen online, or just me, even my friends that have told me, like, listen, dude, it may be hard, but it gotta be you. It has to be you.
It's gotta be somebody.
Yeah, it gotta be you, Carlos. If someone's gonna do something, it's gotta be you. You know, and you set that, you set that path for yourself, Carlos. You have to see it through now, and you know, I'd like to think of myself as an individual that sticks to their word. You know, because that's how I was brought up from my family. You know, my dad himself is as a person is a strong individual, has a strong character about him, and he shows up. He shows up to work on time, whether he had a fun night out the previous night. He's still gonna show up to work the next day, and that's how I'd like to live my life. You know, regardless of what happens the previous day, there's always tomorrow, and tomorrow I'm gonna show up. You know, point blank, period.
Yeah.
You know.
In my mindset is, people, when the sun comes out, I always say you're never promised tomorrow. Do what you can do today, because guess what? You're never promised tomorrow.
Never.
You're never. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And make whatever impact you can on this time on this earth. Whether there is a higher power, whether there's whether it's just pure darkness at the end of your life. You know what I mean? Like after you officially die, whether it's rebirth, like it, and that's me touching on every religion possible, including like atheism and stuff, is just live your life for today, like I said, in the moment, because guess what? You're never guaranteed tomorrow. Heck, I could be on my way home tonight and get freaking rear-ended and killed. You know what I mean?
God forbid,
God forbid, yeah.
But hey, it is a possibility.
Yeah.
We got to look at that. Those side of things, and try to, like how you just said, live for the moment, for the now.
Yeah.
And boom, whatever comes our way, we try to deal with it as appropriately as we can.
Yeah.
Right. This took a turn.
Yeah.
Right. I'd like to say that.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, your cheers. You have good water. Cheers, right there. I don't have my water with me.
Filtered water, basically.
Filtered water. Very fancy.
It is beautiful.
All right. Before we close off the show, Carlos, do you have any? I know you said your shouts earlier. Do you want to put more shout outs in there?
Yes, of course. I'd like to shout out my promoter, my advisor, Hertz Boxing Advisory. I'd like to shout out my nutritionist, Nutrition by Design, Cheryl. Thank you very much for being able to share her knowledge and telling me what to eat and what not to eat. That's very important. People overlook that. And shout out to Blue Boy Boxing Club. I got the shirt on. This is where I started at, and I feel like there's just more to come in just life. Whether it be me training and having my own boxing club one day, or just me continuing my boxing journey and being a professional. And shout out to you guys for having me here. I appreciate it very much for me being able to share myself with the listeners, the viewers here now, and me being able to share myself with you guys. As just people, as individuals at the end of the day. you know, I hope to see you guys around some more, and I hope to, you know, be able to come back sometime.
Oh, do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very lacking on guests. It was great that you you asked.
It's not just that. It's just like we love people that are able to motivate other people, whether they're listening or watching now. But I would definitely love to join your class. Yeah, I'm in sometime.
Oh yeah. Wait till I come pick your ass up Saturday morning next week.
Yeah, whenever, dude.
That's fine, man.
Because like even our friend Reggie, who's actually gonna be here soon, is even like I was like, yo, I gotta bring you to boxing. Yo, what are the days, man? I'm like, maybe Carlos needs to knock him down a peg. He thinks he can take anyone out.
I'm an early riser, so I'm usually up early anyways.
All right, I think that is all we have for you tonight. Thank you, Carlos, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Shout out to Blue Boy again. You know, love the place.
Awesome.
My trainer Carlos, you know, hit him up if you need training at Blue Boy. And you know, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Yep. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and we're gonna be posting on YouTube.
And Carlos, let's get your social media handle up in there.
You can follow me on Instagram at _AVELAR __ that is my main page if you want to just see you know, the daily life of me. You know, I post up a lot of selfies, okay? And you can follow me on my boxing page too at AVELAR Avelar Boxing. All right.
And he followed me on social media too, so you know, I commented on the Blue Boy thing, I get a follow from Carlos, I'm like, oh, okay.
Nice.
You got accepted. I usually don't accept too many people into my personal circle, my actual personal social media. All right, have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.